Fear is useless. What is needed is trust. Oh, fear is useless. What is needed is trust. For you lead me into life, Lord. You lead me into life. So I'm asking you to be very honest. When you heard that gospel, was it fair? Very honest. How many say, yes, it was fair? How many people say no? How many people by your silence are saying you don't want to get involved? Whenever you and I hear the word parable out of Jesus' mouth, we have to be ready for a deep lesson. Parables were the way in which rabbis taught and bantered in order to discover the truth. In today's gospel, Jesus is trying to make a very, very, very deep point, which kind of points back to that first reading from Isaiah 55. God's ways are not our ways. God's ways are so high, but they're also in us because they formed us. And so, what's the lesson? We have a landowner who needs people to work for him, and he goes out in the early morning and he hires people. The midday, the mid-afternoon, and he hires people. But the problem seems to come at the end of the day when he hired people and everybody got paid the same wage. Now, that doesn't seem fair, right? People worked hard and deep. But you have to remember, with a parable, three things are always happening. The first movement of a parable is always what? Orienting us to a story that we think we know. Oh, I know this story. I know what's going to happen. Only to disorient us, only to reorient us correctly, that the lesson may take root, and we might be more charitable and merciful in our lives. That's always the point of any parable. So let's go through this one. The problem seems to come because there seems to be an injustice. But if you were truly listening to one particular line of the gospel, I think we're going to get some insight there. So what does the landowner say to the people that are hired late in the day? What question does he ask them? Anybody remember? Oh, crickets in the church. Well, I'm going to tell you. The question that he asks is, well, why are you standing here idle the whole day? And their response gives us an insight, because no one would hire us. It wasn't because they didn't have a willingness to work. No one would hire them. And people of God, that becomes a problem in our lives, personally and globally and societally, when we don't see folks. What Christ is trying to point to is that God's mercy sees everyone. You don't have to like everybody, but God's mercy sees everyone and responds to everyone. God will hire us no matter the point of the day. And that's the lesson for us who are baptized Christians and Catholics. We have to allow the communion that we receive, the word that we receive, to take root in us and move us toward God's charitable action in the world. So that's the homework. Is there a lack of mercy in my life or in your life that needs correction? As we come forward for this holy sacrament, may its effects move us in the ways, not to tear down God's kingdom, but to build it. Amen.